Exploiting generative AI first requires validating skills related to AI literacy, and more precisely that of generative AI. So I'm going to offer you a mini-series of videos to introduce these skills. In this first video, I will start with understanding the possibilities and limits of AI. Identifying what they can and cannot do will allow us to understand what we can expect from them and thus demystify certain fantasies. My videos are produced for teachers and instructional designers, but not only. In this episode, I will talk about what generative AI needs to be able to develop lesson plans, formulate objectives, and take into account learning levels to develop educationally aligned content. But also, possibilities for identifying teaching strategies or proposing activity ideas capable of improving student learning and generative AI can, under certain conditions, help you identify the most suitable strategies for learning assessment. It can also help you develop assessment content. I will therefore cover a fairly broad spectrum, starting from quizzes and ending with essay questions with different approaches such as ideation, reflection, or even analysis. I'll finish with personalization and automation of feedback. We will now talk about the ethical implications of using generative AI in teaching, such as respecting intellectual property, intellectual attribution of ideas, and avoiding bias. The last episode of this mini-series will address the management of learning data. But before that, I first wanted to raise the ethical issues linked to the exploitation of these learning traces to personalize or even adapt one's teaching. I have already spoken about the contributions and limits for the evaluation. I will now return to development, but this time, that of learning content to create tailor-made, adaptive content and see with you the real possibilities for educational differentiation. I will also return to the possible impacts on the posture and role of the teacher to adopt new teaching methods using AI and thus improve the learning experience. The skill I will discuss now is our own critical thinking, with the ability to select generative tools according to our needs. I am indeed talking about our ability to evaluate and choose the most appropriate tools to meet teaching and evaluation needs. I often refer to the third level of educational alignment. In this video, it's a bit of the same thing but applied to generative AI. I am now going to talk about one of the factors rejecting innovation, the lack of support from your own students. We will therefore see that to be able to innovate, we must first be able to develop certain digital skills in students to enable them to understand how and why to interact with AI. Training students will allow them to work with generative AI efficiently and, above all, with integrity. But this will also allow them to better receive the content that you have produced with generative AI. Accepting this content will allow them to adhere to it and subsequently memorize it and then put it into practice. I end this mini-series with a skill which I admit is at a slightly more advanced level. In my opinion, it is a key skill for being able to effectively supervise your students. In this video, I will talk about data management, what we also call learning traces. I will popularize the thing to help you have a better understanding and the right ethical approaches on the collection and analysis of data generated by learning platforms.